What is up, YouTube? Welcome back. For those who are returning, I appreciate you. It's been a while. For all my new subscribers, my name is Steven. For some reason, I can't stop buying these things. It's a Jeep Cherokee XJ. So I got my buddies up here, that white one, but today we're going to be talking about this green one. So this Jeep right here was my first Jeep that I ever bought, probably about 6 years ago. I hold a little bit of sentimental value to this Jeep, considering the places it's taken me and the things that I've learned with this Jeep too. It's basically forced me to fix my own stuff and learn how to fix my own stuff. But in this video, we're not fixing this Jeep. Unfortunately, we're going to be taking this Jeep basically all apart. Everything that's good on this Jeep, transfer case, the drive shafts, the slip yoke eliminator kit, the front axle, the whole interior is going on this Jeep over here. So that's the big plan. And why am I doing that, you might ask? For those of you who are familiar with the channel, I picked this Jeep up back last fall and I paid $300 for it to score. It's really not that bad of a Jeep. It didn't come with a header panel, headlights, or front bumper. It's a little rotted, as you can tell, actually a lot of rotted. But the good part about this Jeep is the unibody is actually completely solid. This is the only speck of rust on the whole unibody. Typically rots out right here. As you can tell, the whole quarter panel, that's too high for a cut and fold. This whole quarter panel needs to be replaced, but fortunately they do make those. The rockers are shot just like any other Jeep Cherokee. But like I said, the unibody, you know, it's got its surface rust. Don't get me wrong, because it's New England, but there's no rot. You know, things like this we'll have to address so they don't get worse. You know, little spots here and there, but this whole unibody is in fact in a lot better condition than the green Jeep's unibody. So, what does this Jeep need? Well, the front axle, for some reason, the previous owner gutted out all the gears, took the ring gear out, and the carrier and the axle shafts, rendering this thing basically useless because, well, you could run it, just doesn't have four-wheel drive, but in my case it's missing crucial suspension components like where is it? Oh yeah, that ball joint castle nut is missing. So this axle is basically useless. It's just a shell, doesn't have anything useful to me. So the plan is, the first thing to do to get this Jeep on the road drivable again is to take that front axle out of the green Jeep to the Dana 30. We're going to unbolt it and put it under this Jeep. And finally, this thing can actually be drivable again. But that's a lot easier said than done. For those of you who have worked on these things, you know how rusty and seized these bolts can get. So that's what I'm out here doing today, just kind of overlooking everything, seeing what I need to do. And I think my first step here is going to be those control arms, because those things are a pain in the ass. If you guys have ever done those, I might end up just cutting them off and dealing with that after. But while I have this axle out, as you can tell, it's very rusty. It's not that rotted though. A lot of the times you can see rot in the spring perches over here, but I just did those springs recently, and everything else is fine under here. It's just a little crusty. Got new axle U-joints. I needed to do upper and lower ball joints on both sides on this anyway. So what I'm going to do is take everything out, unbolt everything, slide this axle out, and put it under that Jeep over there. What happened with this Jeep is a long story. Basically, it needed an engine because it was getting low oil pressure hot at idle, which typically means worn cam bearings, and you got to rebuild it or just replace it. Well, I ended up replacing it with another engine, and the whole thing just ended up being kind of a shit show. So this is a learning experience. I've had a lot of these with these Jeeps. Something I've been saying a lot lately is you live and you learn. Well, this was a case for sure, because I didn't know that the 98 and under was different from the 98 and above. And that's a simple Google search that could have saved me a lot of headache and frustration. So I ended up swapping a new motor in. Unfortunately, I put the wrong motor in, since this Jeep is a 2000. This is from a 98, which had a distributor cap and rotor with plugs and wires, which could have worked. You know, right here, I had the coil pack on here, but if you guys are familiar, these coil packs have these bolt holes in here, and the 98 and above that have the coil pack system actually have bolts that go in there. But on this head, it actually isn't anything for the bolts to screw in. So that's not my issue. You know, it kind of flops around in there, but that's whatever. The problem is this thing's misfiring like crazy. When the swap was complete, I drove it for a while. Didn't really have any issues besides a exhaust leak under the header, but it was throwing all kinds of codes for, I think cylinder 1 was misfiring. I pulled the plugs, and the only plug that had gas on it was spark plug number 1. For some reason, it smelled like gas. It was just coated with gas. So that led me to believe that the injectors and fuel rail probably need to be replaced. So I go on the internet and I'm looking for injectors, and then I see there's a difference between the 98 and under and the 98 and above. And the difference is this term impedance. I wasn't familiar with it. It's basically you got to buy the right injector that has the right impedance, which is telling the computer to give it the right amount of fuel. 98 and lower have low impedance injectors, and 98 and above have high impedance injectors. So even if I wanted to, I don't think I could just go swapping injectors and call it a day. I think I'd still be having problems with this, considering it's a 98 with 2000 fuel system. Like I said, the fuel injectors on here are high impedance. The computer's still from a 2000, and the head is a 98 using 2000 injectors. I don't know. I don't think it's worth messing with. It sounds like a waste of time, considering I got these got this nice header in here, but this thing just doesn't run good at all. It runs like shit. And overall, yeah, it's just a learning curve. You know, I probably could put injectors and a fuel rail on this, and I'm not saying that this could not work, because it definitely could work. I'm sure you could throw injectors and fuel rail on this thing and it would probably run okay. But this Jeep kind of has seen its better days. It has a lot of good parts on it, but there are spots on the unibody that aren't looking so good. This quarter panel is in a lot better shape, but on this side I got a big old hole. So you can see the previous owner of this Jeep kind of booger welded a plate over here that's now just rotting out completely. Needs rockers and floors. So basically I was left with a decision. Do I do the fuel rail and injectors and hope for the best and hope that fixes it? Or do I just take everything that's good on this Jeep and put it into that Jeep? Like I said, brand new drive shafts, front and rear, transfer case with an SYE kit on it, new leaf springs in the rear, everything in the interior is mint in this Jeep. Headliner's great. Seats are kind of okay, but I got some limited parts here, and door cards, a headliner, nice back seat. It's got a lot of good parts, and I think it's worth just swapping everything over here, starting fresh with that Jeep over there that doesn't have rot holes in the unibody. That engine runs very good. I think the transmission from the previous owner, he told me, slips, so we'll just deal with that down the road. I got a good transmission right here anyway. So that's the plan. Take everything from this Jeep and put it in that Jeep. So it's gonna be a lot of work, and this is my first time actually taking an entire axle out. I've never done it before, but I think I know I can do it. So we're just gonna roll up our sleeves and get this done. It's not gonna happen overnight. You know, I don't have a big fancy shop with all the tools that I need and knowledge. I'm doing this all by myself, so it's probably gonna take a little bit of time. So this is probably gonna be in a little bit of a series, but I hope to have this done as quick as I can so I can have a driving Jeep again. Because my buddy's got Jeeps, but the 2J, as you guys know, the 2J Z-Swap Jeep Cherokee also needs a little bit of work, which I will tell you about probably in the next video. I know a lot of you are probably wondering why the hell I would do this. You know, just get this thing running right and drive it, but in reality, I think it'd make some good content. This Jeep has just so much rot that I don't think it's even really fixable. To be honest with you, this really wasn't an easy decision to make, because I just spent some money on this engine, paid to have it swapped and everything, but I don't think it worked out. So obviously this wasn't the plan with this Jeep all along, but in the end I think it'll be better. So I'll have a Jeep with little to no unibody rust on it, not to mention rot. And the good thing about these Jeeps are they're the same year. They're both 2000s. So it sounds kind of stupid, you know, just to say, oh well, with that Jeep, it's not running right, let's just give up on it. But I think the content will be good too. I'm make a lot of good videos, and slowly I'll be able to take this Jeep that looks like a pile of junk and turn it into something nice. Now this engine bay definitely isn't as purty as that one, but that's okay. It runs, and it actually runs pretty good. I think it leaks some oil. Definitely leaks some oil, but it's got a coil pack. So if anything, I can just take all the parts from that engine that are good, that I paid all that money for, and just put it in this this Jeep right here. Again, I know it sounds kind of stupid, even talking about it out loud. I'm kind of contemplating if this is the right decision to make before I start tearing into it, but I think it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I know a lot of you guys are probably going to be upset that I'm basically throwing that Jeep away, but I kind of want something new too. And to be honest with you, if I didn't have this Jeep, I probably would have ended up just fixing that up and selling it, because I have the 2J that I want to put most of my time and effort into. But it's nice to have a 4-liter as well, because they're great engines when they're properly maintained and you do everything right. But unfortunately for me, I learned the hard way that if you have a 2000 XJ and it needs a motor, probably put a 2000 engine into it. The reason why I didn't go with the 2000 is because of the 0331 cylinder head. If you guys are unfamiliar, basically every XJ, I think it was 2000 and 2001, I might be wrong, had a factory defect where the cylinder head would crack, you know, like a hairline fracture, which would cause coolant mixing with your oil, and you blow a head gasket or worse. So I avoided that and tried to be slick about it, but ended up backfiring on me, and I'm pretty sure that's why I'm dealing with these issues. Could just be simple injector and fuel rail swap, but let's just say I do that and it does run good. Now I gotta worry about the unibody and patching that. If you guys don't know, unibody work is like, you need to be good at it. You can't just cut it out and fucking throw a plate over it. It's not gonna last. You gotta do it the right way. So one thing that I didn't mention is that I actually had this Jeep for sale for a while for like 1,500 bucks. I was trying to make a little bit of a profit, you know. But unfortunately it didn't sell, but I think that was probably for the better. That was someone up above telling me not to sell this thing and to rebuild it, to save it. And then when I got this thing back, and just problem after problem, and nothing was looking up, made a list of pros and cons, and the pros outweighed the cons, so everything's getting swapped over. Stay tuned for the series. I think it's going to be an exciting one, and at the end we'll have a pretty cool Jeep that I can say that I built myself. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. Stay tuned for more. Drop a comment down below, tell me if I'm an idiot, or tell me if you agree with this choice. So if you guys like this video, make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.